Hello, my friends, Chris here. Welcome to another episode of Badass Unscripted. I gotta ask you this. Are you a rule worshiper or a rule breaker? Now, sometimes rules are good things, right? Anytime you live in a society and you have more than one person in a room, you gotta have some agreements. Agreements about how you're gonna behave so that you're consistent with principles of fairness, equality, goodness, and kindness, and all that sort of stuff. But sometimes rules are created for two less than noble reasons, at least that I can think of. Number one is an abundance of caution, and number two is control. Let's talk about the first one. When they build ladders, they tell you that the maximum load is some number, 200 pounds, let's say. But the ladder is actually rated for 3 times that weight or more. Why? An abundance of caution. The chances that the ladder will break or fail under a 200-pound load is so statistically small that the people who make it feel protected from liability. Where if the ladder actually breaks in testing at 250 pounds, 200, the average consumer will be like, well, I'm 220. Is it really that big of a difference? And now you're getting really close to that failure point. And as we all know, it kind of doesn't matter what warnings you put on something. If you get on a ladder and the ladder breaks, somewhere, somehow, there's going to be a lawsuit. So when I think of rules that we should invalidate, it tends to be the ones that are created out of an abundance of caution. Yeah, we have to be careful, but every now and again, we have some flexibility. We can bend and twist some of those rules. Now, I don't mean safety rules, but I mean some of the customs and procedures that we cling to because we believe that we must. We never ask the question, well, how come? As people, we're not terribly good at questioning authority, are we? But as a badass, we need to get good at it. Now, the other kind of rule that I want you to consider breaking is any rule that is created and enforced out of a sense of control. See, right now, we're experiencing a culture of more and more work from home, and that means more and more autonomy. And one of the things you need to understand is that people who are only comfortable if they can control other people are not going to be very comfortable with that. So they start finding ways to justify, for example, monitoring behavior, insisting that people be on camera or are punching time clocks every 5 minutes or every 20 minutes to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, rather than trusting teams and individuals to do the job that they're paid to do. Now here's the truth. Tell me if you agree. Raise your hand. The more you try to enforce those rules, the more controls that you put in place, the harder the sneaky ones will work to circumvent those rules. So in a way, you're creating more of your own waste. But the real reason for me to resist and bend those rules is simply because I don't agree with them. If you want to manage work, that's one thing. But if you want to manage people, that's different. If you think you need to control where people sit, when they show up, what they touch and when, who they talk to, where they go, then you're wrong. If nothing else, you don't trust people. You assume the worst in everybody. And when you assume the worst in everybody, but you failed to create an engaged, happy culture, you've no one to blame but yourself. I'd go so far as to say you're foolish for expecting anything other than a culture of mistrust, unhappiness, and I can't wait till I find another job so I can get out of this stinking place. If you're a manager and you need to control and monitor people that badly, you should be trying to figure out what's wrong with you. Because you can't own anybody. You can't control anybody. You can't dictate people. You can't go around reading people's social media, trying to break into their personal accounts, dig into their personal lives so that you can catch them doing something wrong. You're not the government. You're not the Secret Service. 100 years ago, we didn't have this technology, and you certainly didn't have the permission to breach people's private boundaries so that you could have more info, and companies got along just fine. We still built trains and grew and shipped food and ran restaurants, and everything that needed to get done got done. Now, I've been going heavy on rules around people, the social agreements, the employer-employee relationship, but really, breaking rules applies to everything. If you're writing code because this is the way the textbook says you have to, you might be missing an opportunity to innovate, to break through a performance barrier, to create a template that could save time and money, or just to make the act of developing stuff more freeing, more fun. Hey, listen, if all this sounds like voodoo to you, the ramblings of a madman, let me tell you this. Name one person who invented something that you like, that you enjoy, that you use, that changed the world, that changed your life. Something that enlightens you, who did it by playing it safe, following the rules of convention, and by refusing to break the accepted norms. Think about it. You can't do it, can you? Yeah, that's what I thought. All right, guys, keep living the Badass Agile way. Listen, you can find me on Twitter at badass_agile, on Instagram at Badass Agile, and don't forget to come on Facebook and join me in the Badass Agile Listener Lounge. All kinds of goodies in there. I look forward to seeing you, connecting with you then. In the meantime, stay badass.